Okay, are we live? I think we're live. Think we are live. Let me just make sure everything's good. Okay. Vigilante Williamson here with the sixth episode of my show, The Vigilante Williamson Show. It is October 7th, Wednesday, October 7th. October 7th. Hope everyone's having a blessed evening. It is the night of the vice presidential debates, and I did not watch any of them, or any of it, I should say. This is the sixth episode of my show. I'm pretty excited. 7 is the episode count that most podcasts end. This is my third podcast this year, actually. I think about it. One is my regular self. Another one as Vigilante Williamson, the Good News podcast that sort of rolled over into this one. I end each podcast with a positive news story. And then have this. And this is episode 6. Have a lot of news for you. As you can see, all these tabs. Tons of stuff to cover. We're going to get into Eddie Van Halen, as I'm sure most of you have heard, unfortunately passed at the age of 65 due to colon cancer. This is as of yesterday, and I actually gave a statement from Valerie Bertinelli, who was his ex-wife, and they had a tumultuous relationship, and she's also the mother to his only child, Wolfgang. She posted a heartbreaking tribute and called him my love and gave thanks that she was there with him in his last moments. It's pretty sad. Eddie Van Halen, the legendary guitarist and co-founder of Van Halen, has died after a long battle with cancer, TMZ has learned. Sources directly connected with the rock star tell us he died at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica on Tuesday. His wife Janice was by his side, along with his son Wolfgang and his ex-wife Valerie Bertinelli, and Alex, Eddie's brother and drummer. We're told in the last 72 hours, Eddie's ongoing health battle went massively downhill. Doctors discussed his lung cancer had moved to his brain as well as other organs. Oh, man. He had been battling cancer for over a decade, well over a decade. Sources say he's been in and out of the hospital over the past year, including last November for intestinal issues, and went under around the chemo. It's very sad. Of course, Van Halen is a very impactful group on music. I mean, even if you are pretty young, and I mean, technically Van Halen, I guess, is before my generation, but I mean, they still had a huge impact. Half a Teacher is one of my favorite songs. Jump was their like song, a pop song, but I actually like Half a Teacher a little bit more. Not like I was mega into them, but I mean, you heard their singles, and not only that, as it says, Van Halen played on Beat It, and everyone remembers Beat It. I'm not going to play it because of copyright issues, but it's sad that Eddie Van Halen passed, and he's not the only musical legend that passed. It just happened to be on TMZ and happened to click to this other legend, Johnny Nash, better known as the singer who sung "I Can See Clearly Now," is dead at 80, unfortunately. Johnny Nash, the guy who sang the incredibly happy and infectious 1970s hit "I Can See Clearly Now," has died. The singer's son tells TMZ Johnny was at his home Tuesday when he passed of natural causes. No word on the cause of death yet. Johnny was born in Houston and made his debut as a major label artist in 1957 with the single "A Teenager Sings the Blues." However, it was his reggae teen hit that topped the charts in November of 1972, stayed there for 4 weeks. Nash sold more than 1 million copies of the single, and it made him an international star, especially in Jamaica, where he became one of the first non-Jamaicans to record reggae on the island. While he may go down in musical history as a one-hit wonder, what a smash. "I Can See Clearly Now" has been covered by numerous musicians after Johnny. A couple of those covers even reached the top 20, the most recently being Jimmy Cliff's 1993 version for the Cool Running soundtrack, which if you're an old head or a 90s kid, you remember that movie. His son, John Nash III, tells us he was a wonderful father and family man. He loved people and the world and will be missed within his community, Family was his everything. He was 80. So again, another musical legend passed. I'm sure everyone's heard that song. It's a very sad story. Excuse me. Unfortunately, Johnny Nash has also passed. So I will keep going through. Going to get into some of the beefy news. Good old Trumpster. Before getting into this, I think this is hilarious that, and I knew this was going to happen. I called it. I called it in my very first video a few hours after it happened. You can check on this channel. I streamed a few hours after it was announced that Donald Trump had COVID. I said his immune system is going to be politicized. Because now we're hearing, oh, he's faking it. And then when he talks like it's no big deal, he's leading the people astray. And it's like, I don't know what you want. I mean, the numbers are out there, or how the numbers are what they are. And I get that everyone blames Trump for every bit of COVID. If you want to blame him, it's a free country. I can't stop you. And I'm going to get into it a little later in the podcast. But for goodness sake, please blame other people. Blame Cuomo. Blame Whitmer. Please. They are both, incredibly responsible, especially Cuomo. I believe the number, you can't quote me on this, but America, I think, ranks 10th in the amount of deaths or something like that. And if you took New York out of it, it would be 47th. It's something like that with COVID. And so don't quote me, or the coof. I'm sorry. The coof. But it's New York contributed so much to that number they keep quoting, and they put none of it on Cuomo. None of it. It's like, okay, if you don't like some of the things Trump is saying, even though there's science to back up what his statements are, everyone's saying trust the science. Now it's, oh, he had so much help. And I'll get into these stories, but I'm sick of the double-sidedness, man. It's one way or the other. You guys were wishing that he passed. You're upset that he's okay. So now he's faking it because he's okay. Even though we know 90 plus, even at that age range, I think it's 94% survival rate. 99.9%, if you're younger than, I think, 70. It's incredible. But maybe it's 99.95 or something like that. It's something, and I hate to have the numbers I'm going off the top of my head with a lot of numbers, but I know it's over 99%. And then I think under 19 or the other 19 is 99.99. It's something very incredible. It's such a minute chance of something happening, depending on your age. And even for someone as old as Trump, he had a low risk of death. And we've been locked down, and we've been frightened and scared into submission by the media, by politicians, and they want the worst for Trump so it can back up their narrative. And so far, so good. Granted, he looks like he's still sick. Honestly, I don't think he's faking it. He looks like he's still sick. I'm just being observant. And he's trying to, part of me worries. Just being you know what I mean? I'm agnostic to the orange man. I'm probably shading more towards favoring him, given everything that's going on. But I really feel like he's trying to stunt. He's trying to show that he's healthy. And it's like, I'd rather he just wait. Because he does look like he may be a little sick. Not that I'm sure he can still work, but he doesn't have to be so public. And I know that's just his way. But you do worry, man. There's people out to get him. And, I hope he's okay. I know, like I just said, it's a very low risk. He said, and this video may be, I'm quoting the President of the United States, him telling his own account of what he had to deal with. And this is an account other people have had, but because he's the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, this platform, one of the largest platforms on the planet, doesn't allow it, or may not allow it. But Donald Trump said, just live with coof like the flu. People on Facebook and Twitter step in. Facebook has now taken down the president's post in which he, quote unquote, super heavy air quotes, falsely claimed that the coof is less deadly than the flu. Twitter didn't go to those great lengths, instead slapping a warning on 45's tweet saying it violated his rules about spreading false information. Of course. Flu season is coming, and many people every year, sometimes over 100,000. And despite the vaccine, pass from the flu. Are we going to close down our country? No, we've learned to live with it. We're learning to live with COVID, and populations far less lethal. Excuse me again. That's not 100% inaccurate. I should have got numbers on that. There are years where it's close to 100,000, I think 80,000 recently. Is it as much as the coof? No, I don't believe it is. Last time I checked. But he says way less than that. They didn't give the number either, so TMZ's not, because if they say way less, they don't put the number up. He says unbelievable, but Trump grossly exaggerated the number of flu deaths. He says annually 100,000, but it's way less than that. You know what? We're gonna fucking fact check them. Okay, let's see. 2019, 1819 deaths estimates. Okay, I'm trying to see what the estimated amount of deaths are, and I'm reading through this damn mask. They have it laid out. To all ages, 34,000. Okay, so it's quite a bit less as of 2018-19. That's fair. If the CDC is to be believed, that's fair. 100,000 is that per 100,000 or is that overall? All ages. Yeah, all ages. So if this is to be believed, all ages for the flu, 35,000 deaths. Okay. So to be fair, that's quite a bit less than 200,000. So that is an over-exaggeration, I should say. Relative to those numbers, if those numbers are to be believed, I will say it's over-exaggeration. But again, Cuomo and Whitmer deserve blame. If you want to blame him, listen, this is a free country. I'm welcoming anyone on my chat and videos. I'm not a partisan. I may have views that some of them are conservative, but I'm not a partisan. I don't believe in this party system. I think we need a whole different party system. It's not going to work. Unfortunately, I consider Trump the lesser of two evils, so that's why I'm more than likely going to vote for him if I vote. But I'm not like a diehard Orange man. I mean, he does some great things. I'm not going to knock him. But I'm just not a diehard partisan. I'm not a diehard politician worshiper. But I just do find it funny, the craziness. Just all of it, Because like I just showed, 35,000 is a lot less than 200. So the flu comparison isn't apt either. But you see, people want him to die. Okay, he looks like he's sick. I think he looks sick. I saw the video. I'm like, he looks like he's still sick. Well, he's trying to stun. He put on the orange makeup so he can look even oranger, man. But I think he's still sick. It's probably, I don't know how bad it is for him. He has another claim in one of these articles. Oh, feeling better than ever. Maybe I'm immune, no mask for me. Trump is feeling very confident after his wondering if he's already immune from coronavirus. And this is another thing I have about this whole coof thing. So no one's in favor of herd immunity, but we're waiting on this vaccine. Explain. Because you understand how vaccines work. Herd immunity would be just about the same. We're going to give all these people vaccines. Why not just have herd immunity? But I digress. A maskless Trump, so sucks for everyone there, filmed a video at the White House saying, maybe I'm immune, I don't know. This is not helping the people who think he's faking it. The press, who's pumped on drugs, Walter Reed, says he's feeling better than he has in 20 years. And not to let the virus dominate you, which I agree with, because I covered on previous episodes how the suicide rate has gone up. This virus has had, or this lockdown, I should say, has had dramatic impact on society. So he's right to say not to let it dominate us. And I haven't watched the full this full video. Like, I saw a video earlier, and maybe it was. I can't remember. I watched a lot of videos in prep for this because I do so many damn stories all at once. But he looked kind of sick. He was on the lawn right in front of the Oval Office. He said he was your favorite president. Man, I don't know. I think we've been letting the media dictate the narrative, over exaggerating it. I said that his immune system would be politicized. It has been. I'm glad he got over it, and I hope he continues to get over it. I hope he doesn't overdo it, because I think he's still, you could tell he's dealing with something. But he's better. So far, so good. So let's hope it continues. Let's hope he gets better. Again, I'm sure there's people who don't want him to get better. I get that. Well, I don't get that because he's the president. I get that everyone doesn't like him. But trust me, you do not want something to happen to the president in the middle of the most contentious election season. And we'll get into some of the crazy laws and crazy legal things that a lot of the government's doing. I think the president, there's more of these quotes. I think the president passing would be crazy. So you much rather him be his craziest self. Saying that the coronavirus was a blessing from the Most High. I'm assuming that's what he means when he says God, because they don't always mean that. And hails an unproven drug as a cure. And I'm not sure if they're talking about HCQ, and it's not proven. There's science to back it up. But I think it should be taken over the counter. I think it should be widely available. We do need therapeutics. I'm tired of everyone locking us down. If anyone else was saying it, they hate the orange man so bad. They've done so much to discourage the orange man and discredit the orange man. So when he says, think about it, the president of the United States is trying to say, hey, we have therapeutics for this pandemic. I've been through it. And people, he's just doing it for politics. He's just doing it for whatever. He's lying. He's misleading the people. Bro, he's trying to get people back to work. Because everyone's not going to take this vaccine. You're not going to do a forced vaccine. And if you do, people are going to die. People are not going to take the vaccine. You understand? So having therapeutics, having other options are necessary for getting over this as a ride scale. He compared it to the flu. That was technically erroneous compared to the last numbers I just shown. That is erroneous. He is over-exaggerating it. And just like, this isn't a hoax. And when he said a hoax, by the way, he was talking about the coverage. But I agree the coverage has been a hoax. But this disease is real. And it does affect people. Even with its low death rates, hey, there are a lot of people, myself included especially, with comorbidities. Everyone needs to be safe and cautious, but we can't just let it ruin our lives. I knew his immune system was going to be politicized. I'm glad he came out on it. As my notes die because I ramble too much. As my notes dies, I ramble too much and talk away from the mic. All right. It's time to get into something even heavier. Yes. Cuties. So, Netflix stands by Cuties after the streamer is indicted in Texas over the film's prurient interest in sex. I covered this whole story exhaustingly to the point of near it's sickening. This whole story, this Cuties thing is sickening. There's no reason to defend it. And I'll read into the story, but there are still people online defending it, not just, people that are paid off. You just have this energy of people, you haven't seen it, this, that, and the third. And I'm going to get into the comments in the article because I think that's the most interesting part, because that's the disturbing thing about this whole Cuties fiasco is the idea of this whole, how do I talk around it? This portrayal of children being normalized. And not only is it being normalized, this is fuel for those who already like that portrayal of children. I think it's the best way of putting it. I know I already said a bunch of stuff that'll probably get this stream knocked down, but whatever. But okay. A Lone Star State grand jury has indicted Netflix over the controversial Cuties film. According to the September 23rd indictment, so this happened a couple weeks ago, out of Tyler County, Texas, the streamer, led by Reed Hastings and Ted Sarandos, knowingly promoted visual material which depicts the lewd exhibition of that area of a clothed or partially clothed child who was younger than 18 at the age of the time the visual material was crafted, which appears to the prurient interest in sex and has no serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Oh, God. Sorry. This word, I think they're going to argue this. I hope to God they lose, and I hope to God other counties and cities and states and other governing bodies, which I believe some internationally may have, but I hope other governing bodies really step up for this. Facing some serious charges, Netflix weren't backing down today, as the one-page indictment became public via a local congressman's Twitter feed. Cuties is a social commentary against that of young children. No, it isn't. It is. Don't do social commentary of something by doing it, especially when it comes to children. Spokesperson said in the streamer, for the streamer, in a statement, "This charge is without merit and we stand by the film." Think about that. Think about all the people that get canceled in Hollywood. Think about all the brands that get canceled in Hollywood. You can't have cream of wheat anymore, right? All the things that get canceled, all the things that get perpetrated for the most minute things. A few people on Twitter can get you canceled. But an indictment can't get you to knock down a movie that depicts little girls in the way it does? What in the world is wrong with Netflix? And I can get to the story, but I really want to get to the comments, because they're really creepy. So most of them are, by the way, are what you would think. First is this: Netflix reactivated my account, charged my account card again after I canceled it last month. Netflix position that Cuties is a documentary, and this is not accurate because that's what they go at, against the exploitation of kids, doesn't stand up a chance in court where the material will be poured over to no ends. That position only works to convince the masses who haven't seen the film that there's nothing to see here. Claiming that this repulsive film is artistic is an attempt to deflect judgment, like claiming ignorance is your defense of breaking the law. Hope Netflix suffers materially for this, and the filmmaker and director and all the executives that approved this film serve serious time. Pro-P material is never okay. Harming children is never okay. Bravo, R. Burke. This is even more disgusting that he canceled his account, but Netflix just magically reactivated it and charged his account. That's BS, because they lost so many members that have to do shady crap like that. But then this. Hopefully this is a bot. I hope to God this is not a human. Wow, just wow. This will never go to trial because the people who filed this indictment know as little about this actual film as you do. You say it's a documentary, it's not. You say it's P, it's not, it is. Though you are right to claim there are some old dudes in a Texas court who will want to pour over the material. So wait a second. This comment contradicts itself. So you're saying, oh, you're making fun of the fact there's some old white dudes in Texas who want to pour over the material, but it's not P. So which is it? You literally said this, and is it back-to-back sentences? Yes. So which is it? It's either P, and P stands for this word, or it isn't. And if you say it isn't, why are you making a comment to say that there are going to be people who want to pour over the material? If you believe that, why do you think this material should be publicly distributed on Netflix, Mr. Anonymous, who I'm praying to God is just a bot, not a real individual? The only thing Netflix is beholden to is money, nothing else. Disgusting liberal company. Did you even see it? No, okay. Then Patricia with the good point. Why does that have to do with anything with politics? Why can't we just have a conversation instead? Sticking our hands in the sand with subject. Oh, Jesus. No, this is not what I'm saying. Why does it have to anything to do with politics? Why don't we just have a conversation instead of sticking our hands in the sand, heads in the sand like we always do with subject Americans find uncomfortable? You actually watch the movie, you will see what these girls get the ideas from. Patricia, do you realize these human beings are human beings who are used to produce this movie. It's beyond disappointing that some people cannot see why the movie is beyond inappropriate. You do not need to do this to children in order to make commentary on it. Try to slow down and understand it. And it's, of course, did you see it? Did you watch it? You don't have to try killing someone before you understand that doing is wrong. Then, of course, hopefully, but it may be, did you watch it? Are these people real? Firstly, do you think these comments, whether you're on Twitter, I had a conversation with someone who tried defending it. It was really weird. I try not to judge them because I really was trying to get to the bottom of it. Quite frankly, a lot of people are just culture war trolls. That's what a lot of them are. But some of these people, I think, are genuinely what you think they are. Some of them are idiots. There are a lot of culture war troll idiots. But some of these people are sick. More of these comments. Cuties is a good movie that underscores how quickly young girls today can easily do this to themselves thanks to peer pressure and social media. This film depicts a strong message condemning this reality. The problem is it does this by using actual 11-year-olds. Ding! And then this comment, I don't know why they keep acting like these child actors aren't human. Thank you. So tired, whoever this commenter is. This is probably my last comment. And I'll go on to the next story. These child actors, 650 who were cast for one part, and now more people are realizing there was only one role. I've been screaming that since the story started. More people are realizing, no, there are probably thousands of tryout videos for this movie, for this cast, because there are multiple races in the cast. So at best 650 for the black children, and another, I believe there's only, I don't know if there were two other races or not, but maybe another 400, 500 for those. So we're talking about potential, I don't know how many of the cast call are for the other girls. No one knows. Hopefully it comes out in Discovery. Let me read the rest of this comment. I don't know why they keep acting like these child actors aren't human. They see them as paper dolls that aren't affected by this. You don't inflict trauma to say trauma is bad. The classic act of P is to show their victims the video pictures of other children performing these acts and confusing their victims into thinking this is normal and good. Providing them fresh material for grooming is obviously bad for anyone who is not a complete psychopath. And so, yeah, this is the comment that I just want people to understand who are defending this. Even there's these comments, and again, I'm praying this is a bot or a moron or someone who's like, maybe this person themselves is like 13 or something, is very young and stupid, who don't understand that these girls were exploited in the process of making this film. And as I pointed out in my previous video on it, you can check the channel, the director insisted on working with a young cast. The director had the option of casting older girls. I even used a different movie because I talked about how America doesn't love its children, at least so much of the major media and the major players in society, by using a movie called Unpregnant, in which a 25-year-old played an 18-year-old. So you could have had an 18-year-old play however old or young you wanted them to be for this movie and done the same thing. And it probably still would have been disturbing and controversial, but at least it would have been legal because these are legal actresses. These are legal aged individuals and they're adults in the law's eyes. And you can depict them and you can do close-ups on their body parts while they date. That's disgusting. And that anyone is trying to defend this is just unfathomable. It's something that just shows that I know everyone doesn't believe, but this country desperately needs Jesus. And this isn't a religious show, and Lord knows I need to get myself right in that regard. But this is just disgusting. All right, something I have not talked about and I've been wanting to talk quite a bit about. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan responds to talk of Spotify censoring his podcast. Popular podcaster Joe Rogan and his relationship with the streaming platform Spotify have made headlines in recent weeks. He addressed some of the controversies during his recent podcast with comedian Tim Dillon, Rogan and Dylan spoke during episode number 1544 of the Joe Rogan Experience about Spotify employees potentially wanting to censor and add his podcast. So let me get to this quote, because I want to read his quotes and then give my reaction to them. And I actually saw the video live. I'm not going to play it. Listen to me. Outside of reading these effing articles, which I'm doing now, like, oh my God, Spotify is censoring Rogan. Spotify has said nothing. Listen to me. Nothing. They haven't said anything to my manager. They haven't said anything to me. They said nothing. They've apparently had meetings, but they have a lot of meetings. They have meetings about all sorts of shows. They have meetings about the music they have. It's an open-minded company. They treat employees very well. They let them have discussions about things, and I don't know what these discussions are like. I don't know what happens. I really don't. In terms of them silencing me, zero. There's been nothing. Is there more to it? And he goes on. I guess one of the controversial episodes is one where Abigail Shire talks about transgenders. And I guess it's controversial, according to them, because they're talking about specific case or specific issues that some people face. And I think it's unfair that they silence issues and they try to, sugarcoat the human experience. No matter what gender, no matter what who you are, there are going to be issues. They're going to be, and I think he even says this, there are transgender people who are so much happier after transitioning, and there are some people who do have issues, and I don't think it's a problem to talk about that. In fact, I think you silence those issues, and I've even seen where those people who are having issues after transitioning are kind of shunned and not really feel kind of like outcast. And I don't think that's right if you really care about these people. So I think something like this needs to be discussed. But unfortunately, as we know, and I've talked about it with BLM, we talked about it in everything we have. These people never really care about the groups they use as shields and they use to control. This isn't really about Abigail Shire's podcast. It's just about controlling Joe Rogan. It isn't really about what she said. It's beautiful fuel for them to use to silence Mr. Rogan. And I'm going to get into his quote after I read all of it, but because I think he's doing a great job of word choice, and I'll explain what I believe is happening. It's just a fat guy's opinion. Who cares? But let me get into the rest of the quote. There's somebody at Spotify complaining about the Abigail Shire episode. I'm sure there's someone complaining about it. Is it a transphobic episode? It's not. They're wrong. I don't know what the actual conversation has been from Spotify talking to these employees, but if these employees are listening, I'm telling you emphatically, I am not in any way anti-trans. Not in any way. I'm 100% for people to be able to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't harm other people. You can do anything, whatever you want, whatever your personal choice is. I'm happy for you if you're happy. He's 100% open-minded. Is there any more quote? And he says things he doesn't even make. He's talking off the top of his head. And that's pretty much it. Another quote about he said hot new hip hop. This is another quote. I'm sure they had issues with other episodes as well. But I said before, I'm talking on top of my head. A lot of times I'm saying stuff I don't even mean because I'm saying it because it's a podcast. And if you have a problem with people saying terrible stuff, you work from Spotify, maybe you should listen to some of your lyrics, okay? Because the lyrics are some of their music. The guys play over and over. It makes my stuff pale, in comparison, pale. Listen to some of the rap music. I'm not anti-rap. I love rap. But I'm saying go back and listen to NWA. Listen to some of the early stuff. Listen to Ice-T, Cop Killer, from Body Count Days. Phew, that's what he said in the podcast. And just listen to WAP. It's being popularized now to the youngest girls. There's sororities, pledging to it. Like, that makes us feel great about the mothers of our future, you know what I'm saying? But this has to be censored, But I think Joe Rogan's doing word choice. Why do I say that? Firstly, let's go back to this quote. Listen to me. They've said nothing. Okay. But apparently they've had meetings. They have a lot of meetings about all sorts of things. But then he mentions this episode specifically. Is there somebody complaining about the Abigail Shire episode? I'm sure. I'm sure there's someone complaining about it. But then he doesn't know about the actual conversations. Now, I get that when he says, I'm sure somebody's complaining about it, it's like an inference, a faux inference, in my opinion. Faux inference, I say. I think he's using word choice. He says nobody said anything to him about it. Doesn't mean he hasn't said anything to them about it. Doesn't mean they haven't had internal conversations and he doesn't know about them. He's saying that he wasn't told directly, but these stories aren't coming out of nowhere. And he never says anything about the missing episodes. If they are not silencing you, what's going on with those missing episodes, Joe? Simple question. I know people love Joe. I know people love Jones. People love both of them. And Jones came out and said some crazy stuff that was unfounded about the missing episodes. They're this special top pack, even though they were top episodes of non-controversial creators. By controversial, I mean right wing. All these episodes that weren't there, he never discusses them. So don't tell me they're not talking to you or you have no idea, no information about what's going on at Spotify. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I'm sorry. I think Joe Rogan, my guesstimate is he's trying to publicly give you a everything's okay while he behind the scenes irons things out. And I've said this before and I'm going to say this again. I don't understand how Spotify made this decision to give this man $100 million, yet had individuals whose opinion was important enough to censor it and didn't get the write-off from them. I think it's stupid to pick these employees over Joe Rogan, but if these employees are so empowered that they think they should strike or whatever else, they think they have the right to censor, like Stevie Richards and Ivory back in the day. If these employees have that much power, why didn't you get their information and their opinion and what they believe about Joe Rogan before giving him $100 million? The next question is, did Joe Rogan know he was going to be censored? Were you shocked by the outrage of your employees? And if you were shocked, why does their opinion count? Like, I don't get it. Either their opinion counts to you as, the heads of Spotify, or it doesn't. If their opinion counts so much that you will derail your biggest asset, which you've already done by censoring him already. You've already taken off his other episodes. You've given that air censorship to his product. So why? Why would you listen to these people? If they were so upset and if that mattered to you as the head, then you shouldn't even make this decision because you knew this was going to happen. And by the way, you're last Jediing Joe Rogan. Because if you censor Joe Rogan, which you already have, and you continue it, he's going to lose his audience, therefore be less valuable to you, and you'll be wasting the $100 million you just paid him. Or you're set to pay him throughout the terms of his contract. So I don't understand how they could have come to the decision to hire Joe Rogan under those circumstances, because they clearly have people in the company who don't want him there, who want to censor him, and their opinions, they're clearly high enough for their opinions to count on some level. So either they do or they don't. If you are going to count these people's opinion, you should have got the write-off well beforehand. You shouldn't have even made the decision to get Joe Rogan involved with Spotify if you really felt that you had people at your company that didn't want Rogan. And by the way, he is right about your lyrics. Why are the lyrics on Spotify okay and he's not? WAP is disgusting. And that's something that all of our future mothers of our children, to quote Big Boy and Jazzy Bell. Just making a bunch of Jazzy Bells. That's all WAP is doing. The WAP rap. But censor Joe Rogan, who I think he's doing slickness with his word choice. He can, like I said, They haven't talked to me. It doesn't mean I haven't talked to them. And it doesn't mean he has no communication. He's being disingenuous. He knows episodes that are controversial, but he doesn't know what conversations happen. Okay, like whatever. There's something else to it. But he's trying to put on a good face. And I think he's trying to hammer it out. And hopefully he does, because like I said, he will Last Jedi his podcast if it's a censored Joe Rogan. Nobody wants that. So, speaking of stuff that nobody wants, thy whom goes woketh shall go broketh. We are going to talk about sports and the denial of the go woke, go broke narrative. Now, before I even get into this, I want to, have a stop to let you know that you should like, share, comment, and subscribe to my podcast. If you're listening, I still have quite a bit to go. You see all the tabs. That means we have a lot more stories to cover. I like covering everything I can in these podcasts. I still don't have a schedule. I'm still not sure how often I'm going to do them, but I'm going to post them as often as I can. Keep posting clips. Hopefully they'll all have sound, because they don't always. I've had to read both stuff, but I digress. So go woke, go bro. We've heard a bunch. And this is not a hot take. It's more of a lukewarm take. This is known, but I don't think it's the only reason, right? It's the major reason, but it's one of those things where it's a perfect storm for sports to be in the way it is, especially with the NBA. But with both the NFL and the NBA, it's like before this year, we had declining ratings. We had declining ratings in both sports, even though the NFL kind of had an uptick. We know Kaepernick impacted the ratings. I don't care what anyone says. But it started to have a little bit of an uptick last season from the low the Kaepernick caused. But the NBA was already declining. And quite frankly, both sports over the past few decades had done a lot of damage to their brand with the rule changes. And both sports just started to lose their identities. The NBA became a three-point shooting contest, and like I said, it was already declining. LeBron James, he could be a polarizing figure. With the NFL, it just became the Tom Brady all the time, the coverage. And really, as much as anything, I think ESPN's brand got damaged. Just even before this, before COVID, before the wokeness got kicked up to another level, ESPN's credibility had just been in decline for decades. It started even back in my era in the mid-2000s. They only covered the same stories, right? And it just intensified. Then when social media and YouTube came to compete with them, they became even more hot take oriented, and they lost a lot of what their coverage was. And quite frankly, there's just so many people who don't work for any company, who are just better. Watch Thinking Basketball if you want someone who'll break down basketball. There's tons of other channels that have more information about other sports. You don't need ESPN anymore. And when ESPN gets hurt, and all these brands do all this damage with rule changes, do all this damage with just, they war on people, right? So then, once you have the 1-2 punch of the coof and crazy wokeness and the crazy denial of what that wokeness is doing, it's like those bonds, those likeliness, all those fans who are likely to forgive, they just can't. And it doesn't help that people have gone on to do other things. So it's just been a perfect storm. These rules have been changing, and I don't know if any of you remember the AAF, the one season it lasted. It was this one hit that exemplified what had happened to the NFL. It's this great hit where the quarterback gets just blasted, and there's no flag, and everyone shared it. Granted, the league went out. You know what I mean? The league was a pyramid scheme, basically, and the XFL kind of failed. But the reason there was even excitement is because some of the boss of the NFL football that once were, they felt back, and people were excited to see that. So again, these sports had war on their fan base for decades. They kind of took their fan base for granted. Don't forget, Taxpayers pay for all these stadiums. You know what I mean? So this relationship, the relationship between fandom and sports is just like Hollywood, just like the comics industry, just like any other entertainment industry, where you have this pre-wokeness of, the pre-wokeness is just like incompetence. I keep saying it. Wokeness is a shield for incompetence. So you have this waning interest, the slightly waning interest. There's still a high interest, but they're doing it. They're kind of resting on their brand laurels. And then the coup happens. People learn they can live without sports. Then wokeness happens, and people feel disgusted. And they look at these brands they watched growing up that they loved, that it just warm a little bit, and it's like, you know what? I'm not going to defend it, because there are people who are willing to pick around the wokeness. There are tons of people who are willing to pick around wokeness, but I just think so much damage has been done to the fan that I don't think it can happen. But of course, we're in denial land. The NFL has told teams not to worry about lower ratings. The days of happy days have long since ended. But even as live TV viewership continues to dramatically decline, the NFL continues to rule the landscape. That's the message that was sent essentially by the league offices to teams that are fretting about reduced ratings. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. John Oran of Sports Business Journal reports that Brian Roloff, who runs the league media operations, sent the memo on September 25th aimed at reducing the anxiety about an early season dip in viewership. Of course, it's the 2020 presidential election and other national news events are driving substantial consumption of cable news, taking meaningful shares of audiences from all programming. Rolap wrote via Oran. Historically, NFL viewership has declined with each of the past 6 presidential elections. The ratings took a major hit during the 2016 election with a 14% drop, and after the election, the numbers were flat in comparison to the prior year. 2016 is also the year of Kaepernick. So, I guess we're just not going to make correlations, are we? This year, the COOF situation has become a major factor. With the NBA and NHL pushing their seasons into September, the NFL faced more competition, even though I believe the NBA Finals, I think only one game has competed with the NFL, and they both were using that excuse. We're competing. The pandemic has caused several other major sports to postpone their schedules, resulting in an unprecedented fall schedule. Fall calendar. It's just, again, it's denial. Let's read more of this denial. This is just more about the ratings. Here's the fun thing about the NFL's suddenly wobbly ratings. They can say whatever you want them to. Believe the NFL's newfound activism has turned the country against it? Sure, that might be it. Wondering whether anyone can focus on football with all this going on? Hey, that's valid too. Maybe the people want to get outside the past few weekends of warm weather. That's a possibility. Disenchanted with matchups of winless teams. You're definitely not alone. So yeah, they don't really want to face it. Here's some more delusion. Which one? Oh yeah, ESPN facing layoffs. You know what I mean? ESPN is facing layoffs. But Mark Cuban is in a Twitter spat with Ted Cruz over ratings, and famously Mark Cuban let everyone know that they were overpaying for advertising for the NBA games because they talked about it. Just because they were talking about the declining ratings. Well, we have these ad rates. Thank you for letting the advertisers know they're overpaying. That'll be great when you CBA again. But here are the declining ratings for the NBA. Let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, Senator Ted Cruz, engaged in a heated debate on Twitter on Tuesday as the latest numbers show another dip in ratings for Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Friday's Game 2 of the series between the LA Lakers and the Miami Heat was watched by 6.07 million, a drop from Game 2 of the Finals from this year's Game 1, which was 7.4 million, and Game 3 dropped to 5.94, so under 6. Wow. And then, of course, a number of reasons could have played into the dip. The unusual timing caused by the pandemic. Crews took to social media to suggest that player protests were the cause. Not surprisingly, personally speaking, this is the first time in years I haven't watched a single game in the NBA Finals. And then, of course, he used the infamous hashtag "Go Woke, Go Broke." This tweet caught the attention of Cuban, who took offense to the senator's stance. A USA senator with 3 NBA teams in his state, employing thousands of people, and he is rooting for their business to do poorly. This is who you are every minute of your life, exactly who you are. You're the idiot who told the advertisers they were paying too much, Mr. Cuban. I think that will be way more impactful than what Ted Cruz said, because a lot of advertisers heard you, and you know they did. Oh, we are paying so much for ad rates, aren't we? Why these rates fall? And then it goes back. And then, of course, civil rights, creating all this crap. All this crap. But it's just a lot of anger. They're angry that they're losing, I think, 70% drop in ratings. ESPN laid off, but we don't know why. Why is it happening? And look, I know even on this channel, I've come off as probably naive when, I talked about the Rick Moranis, and I said, I didn't say I didn't think it's about race. I actually think it could be. But I come from the place of trying to de-escalate. I'm trying to de-escalate a race war, de-escalate a civil war, de-escalate a world war, and in part de-escalate the cultural war. But being oblivious to the facts don't help. The truth is incontrovertible. Let me actually get the quote up. The truth is incontrovertible. United wishes cannot overcome brute facts. Truth is incontrovertible. Panic may resent it. Ignorance may deride it. Malice may distort it. But in the end, there it is. Reality is what it is. I'll tell you there's other factors. I think there were a lot of holes in this boat before this leak sprung, and they were patched up with duct tape. And when or maybe a dam is a better example. There were a lot of holes in a dam of sports that were patched up with duct tape. And when the wave of the coof came, and then that tsunami wave of wokeness came, it broke the levee, that broke the dam. And that's where we are with sports. And it's weird. ESPN's reporter set for massive layoffs. It's another round of layoffs, apparently. Disney, is struggling. So ESPN is set reportedly for a massive round of layoffs. Michael McCarthy, a front office sports, said Disney has pushed the network to cut costs, and it'll lead to hundreds of employees losing their jobs. Between 300 and 700, 400 being the number that they are circling. And the sad thing is, not all of these jobs are going to be like the woke talking heads. A lot of these are going to just be hardworking camera people, assistants, grips, editors, things like that. And they're going to lose their job because of all the mistakes ESPN and Disney made. It's like, listen, I know people hate the stick to sports argument. And I think if it's a free country, if you want to have a statement, you want to say something with Instagram, with Twitter, with all the social media, you have your own platform. When you use the public platform in order to talk, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in our next story. It's a comics writer we're going to talk about, Aubrey Citizen. But when you use your public platform, whether it's, a Twitter, whether it is social media, or whether it's publicly, like on the camera, and you say things, you're going to alienate people. Like, even with my podcast, like I said earlier, I think I'm right leading, but I'm not trying to alienate people who are on the left. Even the most extreme lefty, I really want their point of view. I genuinely do. I don't want to alienate anyone from listening to this podcast. I'm going to speak what I believe, but I don't want to alienate anyone. You don't have to actively alienate your fans. And I'm sick of people saying, well, it's in the name of this so-called well-meaning cause. Therefore, anything I do has to be right. You are istophobe because you're not listening to me as I whine. That's BS, and has gotten a lot of jobs gone. Oh, I remember my point I was trying to make earlier. I kind of went off a tangent, forgot my point, just vamp for myself. So with ESPN, with these layoffs, I wonder about sports coverage in general. I wonder about sports in general. I just went to a place, ordered wings, and it's a sports bar. And you forget all the businesses. One of the things old Cuban said, he's right about the people who depend on sports. It's an extended business. You know what I mean? We talk about how cities, when sports teams are doing well, that injects into their economy. And so with this massive dip in interest in sports, this massive dip in interest in sports coverage is going to cause, come out. And of course, ESPN was a huge reason for the brand of sports expanding. So as it falls off, and as the coverage falls off, you have this, you do have this alternative coverage. I like Sports Wars, I like Outkick, but then they have the problem of they're right. And it happened to me with wrestling where my interest in the subject went down so much that I stopped following the creators who made content on it. Not because they weren't good, because the base content they were covering was no longer interesting to me. So because sports has a symbiotic relationship with its coverage and they're both faltering, it's going to be a snowball effect of faltering, right? I think sports can recover, but I don't think they'll recover all the fans. I think a lot of people are done with sports forever. The end. And they'll never come back. There are a lot of people who do want to watch sports, who want to pick around the wokeness, who still want to watch it. Sometimes I even feel like I saw I think it's a 40-point triple-double or whatever it was Jimmy Butler had. I'm like, oh man, it's pretty cool. But it's like between the crowd, which to me is almost a bigger deal. I know the wokeness. If there was a crowd and that energy, I think I could get over the wokeness, quite frankly. At least I could. I know everyone's different. But, man, sports is going to have really a black eye on it for a while because of the coof, because of the wokeness. And people are going to go basically a season with less interest than they ever had for all sports. And the coverage is always falling. You always have people being laid off in the worldwide leader, ESPN, people being laid off. You have these alternative platforms for sports coverage popping up. And they're very interesting and exciting, but they have the fatal flaw of being right, which means eventually the coverage has a chance to fade. I think I dropped frames or stopped a little bit, but the coverage has a chance to fade. Sorry, I had to check the sound because I just thought about the one time I had Inception go with the audio. I'm like, what if I've been doing this podcast for an hour and the audio's been crap? Sorry about that. I just had to check. That. It just bugged me. But the coverage is falling. Sports are falling. People are it's going to fall off. I've heard Clay Travis said the NBA is now a niche sport. All sports are now niche. It's a niche platform. Entertainment's become niche. All of these things have become niche because we don't need them anymore. We don't need sports. We don't need entertainment. We have each other. We have YouTube. Hi. We have all these new things that are popping up. That's why I am a YouTuber, because I know there's a need for a different type of entertainment, a different type of coverage in general. That's why so many people are going to YouTube before they go to a mainstream source or anything. They trust their favorite YouTuber to give them to them honestly. And that's what happened to ESPN. That's why sports are faltering. One of the many reasons, again, the main thing is their wokeness. But the coof and everything that set it up wasn't helping. And, again, you need to watch what you say. And to continue that theme of watching what you say, Aubrey Citizen, comic creator, said a bunch of political crap that got him fired. people putting their politics in front of their wall and in front of logic. But he apologized because he recognizes his mistakes. This is some of the tweets he said in 2017. Aubrey Citizen. Whew, this is pretty disgusting stuff. And this guy wrote for G.I. Joe. Just to show you what he wrote. This is him. This is stuff. This is his word. He was the writer. He didn't draw, but he still came with this character. Of course, an overweight, masculine female. This is the only way they look at black and non-white women, as overweight and unattractive and as masculine as possible. But I digress. I think your boy Zach has covered that many a time. Oh, it's good. Self-centered national tragedy remembrance from people who weren't even in New York City that day. Listen, brother, I remember that day. It was the most frightening shit ever happened to anyone who was in the country. Scared the living crap out of them because you just thought, okay, World War III starting. Unless you were there, lost someone, this is what your social media remembrances should look like. What the bleep does this say? It's just BS. This is what happens when people live on Twitter and just think the world revolves around that Twitter. Like I don't use social media. I haven't used it, so it hasn't impacted me. I feel like Agent Smith, I'm unplugged, so to speak, from it, so I don't get it. This is just someone who's trying to troll. He just wanted a few more of these, and it cost him his job. Remember one time Marvel editor and later scriptwriter Aubrey Citizen, who caused outrage primarily among G.I. Joe fans after he made these repulsive comments about 9/11. He lost his job on a series at IDW, where he was also employing SJW tactics. Now, 3 years later, he issued an apology. Let's go to this apology directly from his Twitter. It was weird because I had to go through a lot of tweets. He does do a lot of tweets, and not all of them were crazy woke. A lot of them were just normal tweets. But he lives on Twitter, and I think that's his problem. He really does live on Twitter. A few years back, I did irrevocable damage to my career after getting caught up in online political histrionics. Don't make the same mistake I did. Take a step back and assess what really matters, what really makes a difference, and realize it ain't on social media. If the NBA would have realized that, if the NFL would have realized that, and if, of course, this guy would have realized that, instead of producing this, instead of talking like this, you know what I mean? He would have saved himself a lot of trouble. And I'm going to keep this one short because this is going pretty long. Still got quite a few tabs. But just to kind of close out with this as the backdrop, can I bigger? Could view. Let's open it with a new tab so you can see that. Let me see. There we go. Look at that. This is beautiful. This is what we want from our G.I. Joe. But hopefully people learn. Go woke. Go bro. That wasn't even woke. That was go nuts. Like, I don't understand that. But that was a hot take. I don't know if it's edgelord stuff. But, I mean, of course, with this stuff, it's not helping. It's like, listen, man. Just do what you're good at. I'm not even saying I'm a political expert. I'm a YouTuber with like 16 subscribers, right? I got to stay in my lane. Everybody got to stay in their lane. You don't know what you're talking about with September 11th. You clearly didn't know what the hell you were doing with your own comment. And it took you 3 years to realize that trying to get Twitter likes is not as more important as writing a good comic, as doing your job. You know what I mean? This is the same thing that we talked about with sports. They don't understand. It's like, listen, it's not all about the next like. It's not all about some random. It should be about doing the best you can with your craft. Unfortunately, for Aubrey Citizen, it wasn't. So let's get into some more stories. These are a little bit disturbing. Oh, man, we still got quite a bit to cover. Again, I want to reset. If you're watching this, whether it's live or in the future, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast and to this channel. I do these podcasts every so often. I'm trying to do it at least a few times a week and then cut them up into videos or a lot of more interesting parts into videos. and continue there. I think this podcast is probably going to go a couple hours. So we've already gone an hour, probably about halfway through. Get some hot water, hydration in. All right. Homeless man fined in Melbourne for breaching curfew. This happened not just in Melbourne, but France. I guess this section is just going to be about some of the coof stuff, because I got to talk about this idiot Whitmer right after. But we are literally fining homeless people for not having a place to stay for the coof. This shows you how detached the people who are making these laws and making these decisions are from humanity. He's fined $1,652 for being homeless. Cruelty of these pandemic police will break your heart. Daniel Wright is homeless, but he's getting his life back on track. This is hard to do during the pandemic lockdown, but he saved up $3,000. He's living in his car until he can get an apartment again. But then the pandemic police came by, they saw him sleeping in his car, and they started to hassle him. He was a threat to no one, bothering no one. It was midnight, no one else was around, but they gave him a $1,652 fine for breaking curfew. Except he wasn't. His car is his home now. Who is he threatening? So how do you feel about that kind of policing? That's not how police work at all. The motto of the Victoria Police, the state of Victoria, is uphold the right. The opposite of what they did. They punished a man for doing nothing wrong. The obscene fine will take half of his life savings, money he needs to get out of his car, and of course he can be fined again. And into an apartment to restart his life. They said they wanted to flatten the curve, but they flattened civil liberties instead. There's no way Daniel can pay this fine, and there's no way he can pay for a lawyer. So we're going to help him. So they've hired an excellent lawyer, Madeline Smith, who's agreed to take the case. We're going to pay her through crowdfunding. So this is a crowdfunding. Maybe I should put it in the chat. I don't think anyone's on, but I am going to put it in the chat. FightTheFines.au. This is crazy. This is sad. And again, this is also happening in France. And I guess any Australian who's had a fine, they'll take all the cases they can. And again, like I said, this is also happening in France. France is homeless, fined for not staying indoors during COVID lockdown. French police have fined several homeless people for breaching a government order to stay indoors amid the coronavirus, charities claim. President Emmanuel Macron, that crony piece of trash, declared a nationwide policy of self-isolation on Monday, with all French people asked to stay at home as much as possible, only go out for work, exercise, and necessary shopping. The measure is set to last 15 days, sure it is, and people not following these rules will get a fine from 38 to 135 euros. Homeless people were fined in Paris, Lyon, and Bayonne, according to the charities. But those who have no place to stay find themselves in the catch-22. They have nowhere to go, but they cannot stay in public places. Sheesh. Like, I know California's extreme with the tent cities, and a lot of these places in America are extreme with the tent cities, but you can't find them. What the hell are they supposed to do? They asked for clear advice to be sent to the local authorities immediately to stop these sanctions. Florent, I cannot pronounce that. The director of the French Federation of Solidarity, FAS, which includes 800 charities fighting against poverty and homelessness, told the AFP. Maud Bigot, the director of the Lyon branch of the Semel Social, said her team had received a dozen calls in 2 days from homeless people who had been threatened with a fine for being in the streets. She said she had heard similar cases in Lille, Bordeaux, and Toulouse. She had someone on the phone who was absolutely panicked. There isn't enough housing centers, and the shopping centers, all the places they would usually go, have closed. People are terrified because the police have told them they're going to give them a fine, or that they will be fined if they don't find shelter. That's crazy. What are homeless people supposed to do? I thought about this the other day. I haven't really covered it, but as you know, if you're in America, I keep scratching, wearing this mask a long time, it gets to me. But there's a change thing. There's no more change, right? And I don't know if you live in a poor community or not, you live near one, but homeless people tend to ask for change, right? and there's no change to give them because the Federal Reserve, what happened to the change? They're printing and making new money, but they're not printing and making new money. Ooh, isn't that great? And so there's no change. So you can't really even help a homeless person out. There's not even cash. I don't even have cash. I have no reason. You have a cash app? What am I supposed to do? So you have that going on. And now you have people fining in some of these countries, fining homeless people for not having places to stay during COVID. What is the point of these laws? Everyone criticized the orange man, and I even said he's probably sick. But these extreme laws, are these helpful? These are what people are fighting against. This is why people are, fortunately getting arrested for speaking in Melbourne and Victoria. But this is crazy that people are getting arrested for being, or not arrested, but fined for being homeless. The one guy, as we spoke about, excuse me, and I put the charity in the chat. It doesn't make any sense that people are being fined for being homeless. And speaking of things that don't make sense, in regards to the COOF, Governor Gretchen effing Whitmer, holy smokes. She rails against the Supreme Court of Michigan striking down two coronavirus emergency acts. She faced protests by Steven Crowder for her lockdown orders. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer rallied against the state Supreme Court's decision to strike down her orders and extend a coronavirus state of emergency past April 30th. You know what? Let me actually go into the stupid statement because some of her lies. Since the beginning of this crisis, I've done everything in my power to protect seniors. So let's derail that immediately. She's an idiot. Like Governor Whitmer, and look at this. She's somebody. Her and Newsom. You could tell these are people who were very attractive when they were younger, and because of which just got by life being sort of attractive and charming, and never had to be intelligent. So they just say whatever they need to say at the moment. A third of the deaths in Michigan are in nursing homes. Thirdly, this tells the story. I'll read the story. Connie Feldstone died alone, infected, and isolated in a hospital intensive care unit after contracting COVID at the nursing facility she called home. And then her husband died less than a month later. She's one of 2,000 or nearly 2,000 nursing home residents who died from COVID in Michigan. A tragedy that's prompted harsh criticism of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Richard. She's acting like a Richard. Gretchen Whitmer says she did everything in her power to protect seniors. Yet, again, a third of the deaths. And back to the story about the poor lady who passed and her husband passed. This is what she says about her policy allowing recovering seniors back in facilities that they may have exposed peers. Let's just say no. This is just what happens. So let's get back to this idiot statement. So the first thing immediately, debunk. Small businesses, we know, businesses were shut down, so she didn't help them. And first responders for the worst public health emergency in a century. No, it's not. It's been made into a public health emergency. It's the worst destruction of civil liberties in the name of a health emergency ever. But it's not. It's something we should take seriously. But this isn't taken seriously. This is causing more problems. She caused more deaths. Her name is not getting brought up. Cuomo's name is not getting brought up. Oh, Trump did everything. No, if she doesn't make that decision, there's 2,000 more people who are alive. What about those deaths? They don't mean anything? People want to blame who they want to blame for this stuff. It pisses me off, man. Give everybody their blame. That's all I ask. You hate the orange man, how he handled some of the things he said? Okay. Hate Gretchen Whitmer too. Hate Cuomo too. Hate Newsom too. Hate all these governors and all these officials who messed up too. Jesus, what a lie she said. hard worker Michigan, millions of Michiganders who sacrificed and did the right thing by listening to this idiot. We have killed. I say saved thousands. We saved thousands of lives. No, you didn't. As we said, her decision to let people back in the home caused more deaths. Laid the foundation for a strong economic recovery. No, you haven't. I've lived in Michigan most of my life. I've lived in the South past few years. But the coup still poses a clear and present danger to the people of Michigan, our way of life. And of course, the virus has killed more than Michiganders than World War One. Again, a third of them because you put them back in nursing homes. And the Supreme Court handed out a ruling by a narrow majority of Republican justices. Oh yeah, I got to make sure it's partisan. It's deeply disappointing. I vehemently disagree with the court's interpretation of the Michigan Constitution. Of course, got to disagree with the Constitution at every fucking turn. Because fuck a Constitution when you're a politician, right? Right now, every state, not every state has the same restrictions that Michigan has. And every state did not put the sick people in nursing homes. So that's a lie, Miss Whitmer. Every state and the federal government has some form of declared emergency. Again, South Dakota does not. And I think even Montana, which I probably should have talked about in the beginning. With this decision, Michigan will become the sole outlier. No, it won't. At a time what the UP is experiencing rates of COVID not seen in our state since April. Just don't put people back into the nursing home so you can save lives. Because those are the most vulnerable people, you fucking moron. Look at this. She just always looks stupid. She just has she looks like she's reading a teleprompter. Like all she thinks to do is smile big and just say a bunch of BS. There are too many politicians that are like paper politicians, and Whitmer's one of them. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She's proof or disproof. You know, there's this idea of, well, all the politicians were women, everything would be great. And there's Tulsi Gabbards in the world. You know what I mean? There's some good politicians, the ones you think really mean well. But then you got these Whitmers, these Durkins, you know what I'm saying? These goofballs, these cornballs. And she's caused a lot of death, and she gets no blame for it. It pisses me off. Thank God the Supreme Court ruled what she did unconstitutional. Hopefully, you know, I'm from Detroit. Let my people go. Let my people be free. You're not saving lives. You're just ending them. You're a waste of space. She should be recalled. I'm sick of Whitmer. Shitmer. Governor Shitmer. She's trash. Okay. We're getting towards the end of this mess. Yeah, just 2 more stories. No, 3 more stories, because I got to get into the damn Batman. Forgot about that. 3 more stories, then we're ending with some positive news, and then we're signing off. So maybe we'll get this in under 2 hours. Celebs stripped down to get attention because they're narcissists. I mean, to get attention because they're narcissists, but they claim that they're encouraging the mail-in ballot process. I'm not going to watch this video. The most striking thing from this video is how many of these old celebrity women are trying to get young dudes to slide their DMs while they looking like people's grandma. I mean, Amy Schumer, not that she was ever like cute, but oh my gosh, she just is like a MILF, a mom I would not like to F. I mean, oh, she just looks like a 50-year-old soccer mom. And then Chelsea Handler, holy smokes. Leatherface. I'm bashing these women and oh my God, motherfucking Bruce Banner looking like he just watched Cuties with his shirt off. I mean, these people just look a mess. A mess. They just need attention. They made this stuff. They made this stupid video where they're all naked. They don't really say much. They just want attention. These people are not A-listers. A bunch of A-listers stripped out. Everyone's now on the A-list. These losers like Sarah Silverman, Mark Ruffalo, Chelsea Handler, Naomi Watts, Josh Gad, Chris Rock. Chris Rock, I don't know what they got on you. I don't know how many of these people took a trip to that island. The guy who didn't end himself, and have something on him. But this is a mess. These celebrities need attention, and you're not fooling anyone. You don't care about voting. You just want someone to pay attention to you, and you guys criticize everyone else for all sorts of stuff when it comes to politics, but you will literally whore yourself out just to get people to vote, so to speak, getting people to vote. You guys just want attention, and like I said, I'm kind of rushing through some just because it's gone pretty long. And I probably should do a long video about this. I guess this is a hot topic. It's just a mess. Oh, I do want to read this. This PSA was put together by an organization called Represent Us. Who the hell is us they representing? The whole purpose needs to be spreading awareness about voting from home this election cycle, something that's been hotly debated and incorrectly described as corrupt by the Trump administration. So yeah, these naked celebrities make me feel so much safer about the mail-in balloting process. Like, what does Sarah Silverman's boob job or whatever to have her 40-year-old boob still show any elasticity? What does that have to do with the mail-in ballot process, huh? What is seeing that Chelsea Handler is like a 55-year-old grandmother? What does that have to do with the mail-in process? Like, what does that care? What does that matter? How does that impact the mail-in voting process? And to be fair, all this stuff, this pushing for voting, where you have celebrities getting news, celebrities trying to sell news for votes, you have people paying felon fees for votes. You have all this corruption. Of course, people think it's corrupt. You have all this craziness, and these stupid celebs who want attention, they're not helping things. And you have the voter die for the NBA, only 20% of the NBA's register for vote. All these disingenuous voting pushers. The Rock, who, again, I don't know what he did on that island. Not saying he was on it allegedly. I'm not even, there's no evidence that he was on it. But they're doing all this. They're putting all this information, all this energy towards stripping down and getting naked. Meanwhile, they're trying to get us to bail out theaters. And at the same time, they have all these political connections to go get naked. Gavin Newsom is not opening Disneyland. Not only is he not opening Disneyland, theater owners in San Francisco have concessions banned, and so they're not opening. But they're getting naked to get us to vote. They have the political connections to get this. Represent Us had the political connections to get all these A-list actresses butt-ass naked to tell us to vote and to try to get attention, and for some of these old thoughts to try to get young, thirsty dudes slide their DMs. But they can't get the money together for bailout. Like, we know about crowdfunding. Look how many comics have been crowdfunded. Look what has been crowdfunded. You have some of the richest people on earth in Hollywood. Wes Anderson, Judd Apatow, James Cameron, Alfonso Cuarón, I don't know what that is, Clint Eastwood, Paul Feig, Greta Gerwig, Evan Goldberg, Barry Jenkins, Patty Jenkins, Ang Lee, Sam Mendes, Steve McQueen, Christopher Nolan, David O. Russell, Martin Scorsese, M. Night Shyamalan, Zack Snyder, Steven Soderbergh, Denis Villeneuve, Taika Waititi, James Wan, Lulu Wang. Between just these names, I'm sure bare minimum you can shake up 10 million, save some of these theaters. You could probably shake up 100 million without trying from just these names. And then you extend all these doofuses who are getting butt ass for voting. You can get the money together to save some of these theaters, but that's not what they're going to do. They're going to get butt ass because they're so much smarter than us. Tell us to vote. Tell us that we need to vote. And they're going to try to get us to bail them out. They want Congress to bail them out. The letter urges Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Felony, and Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Loser, House Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy to redirect unallocated funds from the CARE Acts to these billion-dollar businesses where all these millionaires or billionaires can get naked to tell you to vote but can't help their own industry from dying. That's BS. I don't get all these socialists want to spend someone else's money. You guys are rich. Put together something to get your theaters some money while all this is going on. Use your political connections to relax some of these strict restrictions. We talked about the craziness in some countries and people being fined. If you open up some of these theaters, open up some of these parks, some more money comes in. Release these movies that you're pushing back. They're pushing back every movie. There's no more movies coming out this year. They pushed back James Bond. We'll talk about Batman and that crap, even though it's coming out next year, but that's got pushed back. Everything's getting pushed back. Dune has been pushed back. I think one of them is supposed to be pushed back if it hasn't been already. Everything's being pushed back to next year, the year after, sometimes even later than that. But you can't save the industry. You want to push back all your movies, and you want us to pay for the theaters. So keep in mind, these studios are giving the theaters less and less money. And that's why that concession ban at San Francisco hurts. Because theaters make your money on concessions. But again, these celebrities need to get butt ass so you can slide their DMs. That's way more important than saving the theaters that actually keep these people. If it wasn't for the theaters, none of these people would matter. And they forget that. I think one of the big themes, whether it's sports taking us for granted as fans, or Hollywood taking us for granted as fans, or Hollywood taking the theaters for granted. Everyone takes these rich goofballs, these idiots who don't know anything about anything, take so much for granted. That's why they talk about politicians and politics they know nothing about. Take everything for granted. And it's all coming crashing down. So go ahead, strip down Hollywood. Naked like the losers you are. You'll whisper at us for help. No, you'll yell at us for help, and we will whisper down no. You know what I mean? That's what I have to say to you losers. You don't deserve a damn thing. Speaking of bailouts, as we get to the tail end of this garbage, the House Democrats have a new coronavirus. Not that this podcast is garbage, but just this is garbage. This is fucking garbage. The Democrats have a bill that eliminates $600 million for policing. I'm sick of this defunding the police crap. Look at the numbers on defunding the police. 64% worry about cop shortage and public safety. Black people worry the most. Who is defunding the police supposedly for? Supposed to be for me. You people are speaking for me. You know so much about me. You're telling me that I should want police. All these numbers. Look at this. Most want Blue Lives Matter to protect for the police. To protect the police. Let me see this. 59% of voters supported adoption of Blue Lives Matter law in their state, which will make attacks on police and first responders a hate crime. Now, I could go into hate crime. I actually think hate crime should be off the books because I talked about Netflix earlier. I am frightened that the way California is going, especially, people will become a protected class, and it will be a hate crime for you to protect a child. But that's me, my conspiracy theories. Even regardless of whether I don't really like the legislation of hate crime because of how it can be politically manipulated. That said, I do think we need some laws to protect police, especially now. 68% are concerned that the deadly attacks on police will lead to a shortage of police officers and reduce public safety where they live. Yet you're trying to defund the police. Even blacks, 52% of blacks, which is one of the lower minorities, still a plurality, support laws. And 84% of them are concerned with a potential shortage. Again, damn, like I'm not black. Or is it? This the 81%? Yeah, 81% want a black president. So tired. It's getting late. Of one. It is one. I've been on for an hour and a half. 81% want more police presence. 20% want. 81% want equal police presence. 21% or 20% want more. 61% wanted to say 20% want more. The point is 81% want 80%. Well, I am just fucking up English language. I apologize. 81% of black people want more police or the same. That's the point. All these numbers that I just pointed out point to black people wanting police, but the Democrats, they use all these stupid commercials talking about don't let them take your voice away from you, even though you keep talking for me and not listening to me. You know, as a black man and as black people, you see that those numbers are not accounting for what the Democrats are doing. They're still going to try to defund the police with these crazy bills. They still haven't, they've held up a stimulus package. I am not a partisan, man. But I am very much anti-Democrat right now. I'm not necessarily pro-Republican. I may have to vote that way if I vote, unfortunately. But this is unacceptable. You know, at least account for what black people actually want. Because defunding the police is for no one. Nobody wants to defund the police. Except a bunch of Democrats who want to, in my opinion, pull off the RoboCop scam. And what I mean by the RoboCop scam is this. They want property value in a lot of these areas to plummet so they can buy it up and then they can be built back. That's my theory, but I don't know any other logical reason for wanting to defund the police, especially when you have so many black people telling you, we want police, we need police. But that's not what they're going to do. It's BS, and unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope it doesn't get through and that we can get the police funding that we need. So, we are almost done. Yes, we're getting into Batman. Saw this video, I freaked out. I'm a huge Batman fan despite the Superman shirt. I'm actually planning on doing a review of not just the Batman 66 movie, but the whole series. Actually, I have it here. Right here, just got it in. Batman 66 series, and the movie is somewhere around here. I could probably get it out of my PlayStation, but I digress. I'm a huge Batman fan. I love the mythos of Batman. I'm really excited about this movie. I talked about the trailer. It's on this channel. I talked about how much I really am excited. I'm willing to live with Robert Pattinson, but if these rumors are true, he's got to go. I tried to even give him a pass for his body, saying, hey, even if you don't train to be a bodybuilder, make sure you train with the fighting coordinator to get yourself a fighting style body. If these rumors are true, these are all rumors, these are alleged, but if these rumors are true, they're doomed. Okay. The rumor. Batman is in trouble, can get shut down again. The sequels are in jeopardy. Holy pandemics, Batman, a reference to old 66 Batman. The delays and constant woes of Matt Reeves' The Batman may not be over and could be worse than we all thought. We all know the production is troubled. Some will say it was doomed from the start, but sources who leak information to YouTube personality Dr. Von Doomcock, who I am a member of his channel, I love Doomcock, will claim we don't know the half of the severity. I'm not going to play his video. Please watch his video. It's better than mine. For one thing, the media could be covering for star Robert Pattinson. A contact with knowledge of the production company reported to Doomcock's agents. The Variety report Robert Pattinson came down with coronavirus, leading to a shutdown, was inaccurate. Instead, that the truth was the source claimed that the actor failed to get into shape during the time he had off in quarantine prior to returning to the set. It got out earlier this year that he was barely doing anything, which I kind of still think he was slightly trolling because he's so fucking skinny that when you look at him, he looks like he's bigger. I mean, jeez, I showed the pictures in the video how skinny he was as what was he, Edward? I want to call him Alien the Vampire, as opposed to now. You can see it was a difference, about 30, 40 pounds. It still made him like 160, 170, but I mean, he's a skinny motherfucker, man. He's about 175, maybe 180. But I mean, he's a skinny dude, but apparently staying in his own apartment afforded to him by Warner Brothers. He was supposed to be working out. He defended himself by saying James Dean wasn't exactly ripped. And I said in the video, James Dean never played Batman. Even Adam West, I mean, Yeah, he doesn't have the modern body, but he's in shape for the era. Screen Rat published a feature coming to his defense as well, explaining why he deserves a little slap. In their piece, Screen Rat called to Carpenter's socially mandated physique and deemed the right one for a superhero a different take. So maybe I can play Batman. I can play Superman because it doesn't matter about my physique. Even though I'm morbidly obese, why can't I play Superman? You're body shaming. That's the problem. That's why you don't want me to play Superman. You're body shaming, and plus I'm black. It's obviously racist. Duh. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. When he showed up for work in September, Reeves took one look at Pattinson's conditioning and lost it. Reeves' outrage has started to bleep, start the production, sent Pattinson home for a few more weeks to get toned or in believable shape. Filming pauses September 3rd, where someone believed Pattinson tested positive for Coof. It didn't resume until the 17th. Doomcock's source, it was all a rules to cover up the real reason. I'm going to get to this while I'm here. This is probably the thing that makes me not believe it. Firstly, it's not necessarily talking about Doomcock's reporting. First off, he gets most things right. Let's keep adjusting my mask. He gets most things right, and I believe his source is coming from something. That's not enough time to really get into shape. 2 weeks. I mean, especially for someone you know is lazy. I mean, what can he really do in 2 weeks? So I just don't believe they would fake that for that reason per se. It just seems a little fishy on that part. But I guess the week of the 21st, they were filming with stuntmen who noticeably dwarfed Pattinson before the lead actor was supposed to come back for close-ups and dialogue. Now is October. Now it's October when the calendar turned, and it was clear that he hadn't done what he was told. He returned to the set with no change and is described as a stick when dressed as Bruce Wayne. I'm praying this rumor is not true, but unfortunately I don't know what to say. He is a reporter paid to work with. He refuses to work out and complains about how uncomfortable the bat suit is. Reeves is said to be at his wit's end with the Twilight actor and is just going with it frustrated, especially because people would notice the miraculously shrink between shots that the filmmaker just wants to finish the film so he can be rid of the albatross around his neck. There's more. Let me see. I guess his source said that there's an update on the 5th, and his source said that there was a casting meeting that day. That's pretty much it. I guess in summary, Batman sounds like it's in deep, deep trouble. Be advised, Doomcock has not independently verified the accuracy of the info and urges that it should be regarded as rumor. So that's the main thing. This should be regarded as rumor. I definitely believe he has a source that said this, but it is Hollywood. And we know that all these companies are factionized. So that's the great assault you have to take any Hollywood report with. But I am frightened that the rumor is true. I really want a good Batman film. And I don't think we'll get a good Batman film if we get a stick Bruce Wayne. And we get someone who's not dedicated to the role. And I think the main issue with him not working out is not just him not working out. It's indicative. Him not working out is indicative of the effort you think he's going to put forth in the role. You know, maybe he can pull off this incredible acting job as Bruce Wayne, but he really needs a physical presence to pull off Batman. And if it's just going to be a stunt guy, and it's the Pedro Pascal situation all over again. By the way, why did you read for Batman if you thought the suit was going to be uncomfortable? Did you know what you were signing up for? It's like, you don't have to be Batman. You didn't have to read for it. Someone else who was willing to deal with the discomfort of the suit, they could have just as easily, just as well, done and been Batman. But no, you read for it, and now you have to deal with the consequences, bro. I'm hoping these are just rumors. I'm hoping this is just people spreading salt in his name. And I'm hoping he gets himself right and dedicates his body. I don't know who he thinks he is. I defended him in the first video I did on this, but who do you think you are? If you want to play Batman, you got to play Batman. No. Michael Keaton wasn't the buffest man. I mentioned Adam West. I love Adam West as Batman. But you still got to put forth an effort to give to the Batman they want. You do not have to look like, you do not have to be as big as Ben Affleck. You don't have to be as big as Christian Bale. But you do got to be told you got to look like an athlete. You can, bro, if you're not a heavyweights guy, there are other ways. There are calisthenics. There's just so many different ways to get your body in the shape that it needs to be to at least give off a semi-believable performance as Batman. If you care about this role, please do it. If not, the Batman's going to be in trouble. I don't want to believe these rumors more than anything. I think there's some truth to them, unfortunately, though. But I'm hoping that there's not. I'm hoping this is just somebody who's disgruntled with the company, who's spreading lies or disgruntled with him. But I don't believe that. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of that. Okay, so there's been a lot of depressing news. We're going to end with something positive and then sign off. We've gone almost a little over almost an hour and 45 minutes. So this is just a positive story. And an incredible one. A Greek athlete carried a disabled woman up Mount Olympus, fulfilling her lifelong dream. Greek mythology is filled with tales of heroic strength, perhaps most famously Atlas, who single-handedly held the heavens aloft. In a singularly uplifting modern-day version of Atlas come to life, one courageous athlete recently climbed Mount Olympus, home to the ancient gods, carrying a disabled comrade to the summit with him piggyback style. Long-distance runner Marios Ganaku, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the brother's name, has a long track record of taking on challenges. He's trekked 168 miles across the Marble Desert. He took first place in a frigid 93-mile cross-country race in Antarctica. Whoa. Prior to his latest endeavor, he had already successfully taken a view from atop Mount Olympus, highest peak 50 times. Wow. But when Giancaku met and befriended 22-year-old biology student Eleftheria Tosio and learned of her dream to experience the summit herself, it only seemed natural that he was more than ready to rise to the occasion. For me, all international races and medal and distinctions so far mean so little compared to that goal. And this is the picture. Wow. That's got to be a strong motherfucker to carry a human being or your body that high up. For me, again, I already read that. This is the picture. Wow. When they reached 2,400 meters, the party stopped to rest. After making camp for the night, they resumed their climb at 6 a.m. The following morning, 3 hours later, 9:02 local time, having put in more than 10 hours climbing, all told, the triumphant pair reached the 2,918 meter summit. There's nothing more real than a dream, said an ecstatic Giancaku posted to his Instagram. It's heartening to know that while we generally think of heroes as the stuff of myth and legend, there are actually some shining examples like Marios Giancaku who exist in real life as well. So I hope everyone enjoyed that story. It is a beautiful story. I like ending on a positive note. We had a lot of stuff to cover. Unfortunately, these podcasts always go pretty long because I want to cover so much. I did it because I want to get everything I want to cover all in one go. But I like ending like that. It's a great story about somebody who was willing to put someone on their back just so they can experience something. And I think that's a beautiful story of friendship and of selflessness. So it's really cool. And so I can end on that positive note. So hopefully you like the podcast. If you made it through this entire thing, thank you so much. If you like this video, which I hope you did if you made it through, please like this video. If you didn't or you want to discuss anything, please let me know in the comments below. If you're so obliged to share and subscribe, please do that. And even if you do none of these things, I want to thank you for your time and thank you for watching. God bless.